Hello and welcome to the Program Design and Evaluation course. This is Professor Saltanat Liebert at VCU. Today's topic is writing the evaluation report and disseminating the results. Once the evaluation is completed, an important task ahead is writing a persuasive and compelling report. If you have conducted a state-of-the-art evaluation that is methodologically rigorous and has conclusive results, but the report is not well written, this would undermine the effectiveness of the entire evaluation. There are different types of reports used in program evaluation. In some cases, the evaluator needs to write up the findings in different formats. The classic format is a comprehensive technical report. Another format is a brief executive report that is no longer than 10 pages or so. Sometimes it is necessary to write different types of reports for different types of stakeholders. Most evaluation reports should have a very brief executive summary. Typically, a full report will start with a summary of the evaluation findings to capture the audience that will just skim the report. Then, an evaluation report typically describes the social problem that the program intended to solve or address. Next, the report needs to describe what resources were used to achieve program goals, activities that the program staff undertook, the description of the client characteristics, and the expertise of the staff. This type of information is important if the program will be replicated in other sites or in other states. Then the report should describe the evaluation questions and the methodology used to answer the evaluation questions. It needs to be a concise description of the methodology. If the methodology is elaborate and complex, it is more appropriate to put the full description into an appendix. The next section in the report is the evaluation findings. Here you would give a more detailed description of the findings than what was included in the beginning of the report. And the final substantive section is recommendations. This is arguably the most important part of the report. Here, the evaluator would make recommendations for improvement. If the program is not effective and did not reach its goals, the evaluator needs to explain why and whether this specific intervention should not be used in the future, or maybe it should be used with modifications. The evaluator also needs to make recommendations to those seeking to replicate this program, alerting them to the lessons learned. The executive summary is often the only part of the evaluation report that will get read, so it's very important to make it crisp and compelling. The executive summary should focus on the findings of the evaluation and on the recommendations for program improvement or for continued funding of the program. The discussion of the methodology should be brief and non-technical. The full methodological section should go in the main report or in the appendix. To draw the attention of the reader and to make it visually appealing to read, it's important to strategically use headlines. The main point of the paragraph should be in the first sentence. On this slide, you see an example of an effective executive summary. It's a one-pager, or what the Government Accountability Office calls the report highlights. Note that the findings are the first thing that you see in this summary. The recommendations also appear on this page in a section that is easy to find. The authors have also used the visuals effectively, highlighting the high number of students who are also parents through the photograph. This summary also has a direct hyperlink to the full report. The hyperlink is on the upper left corner. There are several tips that might be helpful in writing an effective report. One of these tips is what George Grob, an evaluation scholar, calls the MUM test summary. This is a 1 or 2 sentences that explain the main findings of the evaluation in layman's terms. An equivalent of the mom test summary in writing is a killer paragraph. It's the first paragraph that typically appears in a memo or the email delivering the evaluation report to a stakeholder. It should concisely summarize the key findings in a compelling way. It should grab the attention of a reader so that he or she would go on to read the entire report. There are several tips to writing the killer paragraph. The first is to focus on the findings and recommendations of the evaluation report and limit the methodology. Because the paragraph should be concise, you should mention major findings and recommendations, but not all of them. So it's important to prioritize and decide which of the findings are the most important or compelling to the specific stakeholders. Do not use abbreviations in this paragraph because the reader might not be familiar with them. This paragraph should be concise, no longer than a quarter of the page. This slide presents an example of an effective paragraph. It first states the problem that the program intended to solve, to recruit more foster parents for difficult-to-place children. This paragraph then includes one of the findings that the program is falling short in its goal. Then the author mentions the evaluation methodology, which was interviews with foster parents and caseworkers, but the author does not go into technical detail about the methodology. The paragraph concludes with a key recommendation that recruiters should use current foster parents networks to reach other potential foster families. So this is a good example of a killer paragraph because in a few words, it summarizes the key findings and recommendations of the evaluation report. It also situates the reader and explains the problem that the program set out to solve very early in the paragraph. The killer paragraph needs to be customized for different stakeholders when the report is disseminated. It would be different in a memo sent to lawmakers presenting the report compared to, for example, a social media blurb. The report dissemination to various stakeholders will be effective if the same stakeholders were involved in the evaluation process from the beginning. If they were, then presumably they are invested in the evaluation and would help disseminate the study results broadly. There could be challenges, though, if the evaluation has found some problems with the program. In this case, program staff might be reluctant to accept the findings, let alone promote their wide distribution. Such reluctance could be countered if the evaluation is truly useful by providing specific recommendations for how the program could be improved and identifying what factors undermine its effectiveness. A key strategy for promoting the use of the evaluation findings is to distill them into smaller bits to make them digestible and usable, and to proactively disseminate the results. This is the end of the lecture on writing the evaluation report and disseminating the results. Thank you for listening, and take care.